A lot of coaches head into their second year at big-time schools. I mean, Oklahoma, Miami, Notre Dame, USC, all under new management going into their second season. So what's the stock of these schools? What's the trend right now according to what they did a season ago and what they're doing in the future at these different schools? Oklahoma is a good place to start. I think the stock for Oklahoma right now, or the trend rather, is gaining steam. Because you look at what they did on the recruiting trail a season ago, and they were top 10 in the country in their first year under Brent Venables, where they went 6-7 on the field. And when I look at Oklahoma, the vibe is there's no, okay, let's give it some time. There's no, let's try that formula again another year and just kind of see how it works. They are retooling via the portal. They went out and got some dogs. They also have a head coach that understands, via the portal, they had to get better on defense. The personnel defensively is substantially better than it was a season ago. Okay, so you're going to be better on defense. Some progress there. Again, gaining steam. You gain some steam defensively. And then you look to the future. You got Dillon Gabriel for this year, but what about after Dillon Gabriel? What about next season? I'll just say this. I talked to some people close to Oklahoma, and the sentiment is the same across the board. Jackson Arnold is that dude. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but the sentiment is he might be the most talented cat in that room today. And he's been on campus for all of like 15 minutes. So they're fired up about Jackson Arnold. They're recruiting at an elite level. They've retooled the defense. Brent Venables has this thing headed the right direction. So I'm looking at Oklahoma from a zoomed out perspective, and they're trending in a positive direction. Okay, so they're gaining steam. They still have to do it on the field. There's still a show me part of this equation, but for Oklahoma, I think the right stock to put to this is gaining steam. Let's take a flight, move out to South Florida. Mario Cristobal joined the show not too long ago. We talked to him about the development of his team and what they're trying to do right now in terms of getting that roster right in the trenches and what they're trying to do with the new coordinators. And what I would say when it comes to Miami is buy the dip here a little bit. Buy the dip, because Miami last year left a lot to be desired. I was one of those people that thought Miami would be a ready-made situation. Mario Cristobal brings the right culture, the right structure. You got a quarterback in TVD coming off a phenomenal season in 2021, and then this sort of fell flat in 2022. And Mario Cristobal told us, he's like, it was nobody's fault, just wasn't a fit when it came to the quarterback and the offensive system. So they have now revamped both the offense and the defense with new coordinators. Kevin Steele took the job at Alabama. Enter in Lance Guidry to coach the defense. Shannon Dawson now coaching the offense. And the early returns out of Miami are that the offense and the quarterback room fits like a glove. I've said this many times. I do not buy that Tyler Van Dyke just somehow got worse overnight. I don't buy that what we saw from the 20-plus touchdowns he threw a season ago to single-digit interceptions in 2021 was some sort of fluke, okay? I think you're going to see a much improved Miami in 2023. And even so, you look at the way that he's building this roster, there's an emphasis, like he told us, on the trenches. Samson Okunlola, Francis Mauigoa, they are putting an emphasis on the pieces that matter in terms of playing winning football at Miami. Something we haven't seen as of late. Mario Cristobal has that thing headed in the right direction. The reason why I say buy the dip, you got to look to the future here. Miami, with the tough product they put on the field a season ago, tough to watch product, I should say, they had a top 10 recruiting class. So Mario Cristobal, with all that talent around him in the state of Florida, you think Miami's just going to stay the same? Especially if the ACC has some tectonic plate shift and let's say you lose a Clemson, you lose a Florida State. Maybe you end up losing on Miami if you lose both those schools. But what I'm trying to tell you is Miami's not playing in the SEC. The ACC has some really good teams, but Miami, with the talent they have around them, with the quarterback they have right now, with the way they're recruiting, there's a lot of potential with Miami. So Mario Cristobal, I think, is a guy that just knows how to win. He's won it just about everywhere he's been. He gets Miami. He gets what it takes to win. Buy the dip with Miami. Last year wasn't pretty. We're not excusing last year, but I would just let this thing simmer a little bit. Let it sizzle by the dip when it comes to Miami. Notre Dame, another school we got to talk about here. Marcus Freeman and company. Did some good things in 2022, but 2023, I think, should have a different expectation in-house. More thoughts on that. Make sure you're subscribed. We talk ball here every single day. We're live right now. Those of you that are tuned in, we appreciate you. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JD Piquel. A great way for us to interact and for us to hear from you. Now, as I was saying, for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, going into his second year, the stock that I would best define them as is we mean business. Because you look at this roster, and they didn't have to go out and add a Sam Hartman. They actually had their starting quarterback from a season ago, Tyler Buchner, who played the opener against Ohio State, coming back this year. They have their entire running back room coming back. A lot of pieces on defense, 72% of that production coming back. The roster itself that won 9 games a season ago, you lose some key pieces, sure. Isaiah Foskey, you lose Mayer, I understand that. The roster itself has a pretty high floor. And you got your quarterback of the future potentially in 2024 with C.J. Carr. There was no pressing reason, for Notre Dame to go get Sam Hartman. It wasn't like they missed a bowl game. So Marcus Freeman's saying, no. I want the best quarterback in the transfer portal. I want the best quarterback available for us here in South Bend. I think that sends a very clear message to the rest of college football, which is we mean business. Okay, this brand, this golden helmet that we're rocking, this means something, okay? There's a different standard. And we're not going to be content to just sit back and win 9 games again. We're not just content to win, double-digit games and maybe make a nice bowl game. No. We expect college football playoff. We expect national championships. And I know the whole thing with the offensive coordinator hire was a bit quirky. I'm just telling you, for 2023, Marcus Freeman has set the bar extremely high and invited a lot of pressure onto his school, onto his program, by getting Sam Hartman. They mean business in South Bend. Pressure is privilege. There's a lot of pressure because they got the guy. They already play that tough brand of football. We already knew they're going to be able to run the football. We already knew the defense was going to be solid. But getting a quarterback now, I believe they are one elite wide receiver away from being a very real playoff contender. And even then, we'll see how good Sam Hartman is. He might just elevate everyone's play. So for Notre Dame, the stock to me is they mean business. They're trending upward. I like Notre Dame a lot in 2023. Now, USC and Lincoln Riley is one of the most interesting stocks when it comes to these teams and these coaches heading into the second year. Because you zoom out and you say, good year for USC compared to what they had a season ago. Like they went from missing bowl games to playing for New Year's Six Bowls and playing for the conference title. That's great. Think about what USC could do in 2023. Think about how we would view USC if they were to win the national title. And to be clear, that is a very real conversation we have to have. They have the best player in college football playing quarterback for them right now. Now, if they get a defense, that national title conversation becomes a little bit more interesting. But back to my original question, how differently is USC perceived nationally if they win a national title this season? Again, they go to the Big Ten next season, so they're about to transition conferences. I think if they win a national title, that likely comes with Caleb Williams having a pretty good shot to win a second Heisman Trophy. Think about the national reach they would have recruiting, which is even more than they already would have right now. Think about the branding of USC and how seriously we would all take them and take Lincoln Riley. Just the snowball effect, I think, would go into play. Now, if they don't win the national title, I'm not saying that USC goes to the Dogs. I'm not saying they're going to the Dogs, but I think this year is a hinge year because of what it could be. It doesn't set them back, but it would be a very big missed opportunity for USC and Lincoln Riley if they don't make good on Caleb Williams because they don't have a defense. So for me, again, USC and Lincoln Riley going into year 2, I think there's some pressure there. I think it's a hinge year in terms of how much they could snowball with success in 2023. So there you have it. For Miami, you got to buy the dip. 2022, it wasn't pretty. Nobody's excusing 2022. I promise you, Mario Cristobal is not excusing it internally. They're doing a lot of the right things, hitting the reset button, buy the dip with Miami. For Oklahoma, they're gaining steam. A lot of the right things are being done. Okay, keep an eye on the process. The results will come here, and we'll talk about the results when they happen, as we do every single Sunday, as you know, during the fall. Keep an eye on how they're building it. They're addressing their weaknesses. Brett Venables can coach defense. They're recruiting the heck out of the trail, and Jackson Arnold is that guy, according to everybody in Norman. For USC, it's a hinge year, like I just said. Golden opportunity in front of them to do some exciting things. But for Notre Dame and company, them going out and getting Sam Hartman after a 9-win season with QB1 coming back with Tyler Buchner, they mean business. They mean business in South Bend. So there you have it. That's the stock around the country for a lot of these year 2 head coaches as we see it. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.